up? It's Breyonna. So you guys know I am obsessed with earthy greens and purples, like some of my favorite colors to wear. So when I saw the MORPHE 35D Desert Bouquet palette launch, I had to get it. And also, like, the packaging of this palette is just really cool and different for Morphe. Like, I feel like lately they have just really kind of like up their packaging game, which I am all for. But man, this palette though, oh, it's so gorgeous. Because again, it kind of has like this earthy kind of feel with the greens, as well as just some really nice earthy colors mixed in. But what really caught my eye about this one is that it has some lavenders in here, as well as some corally colors. Like, I just thought it had a really interesting feel to it. So as always, I'm just going to prime my eyes first. And again, I'm just going to use my Anastasia eye primer. You can use any eye primer that you like. I just really like this one. And I'm just going to be taking it on this big ol' shader brush from Morphe. I'm just going to pack it all over my lid up to my brow. So the first shade I want to try out is this one called High Noon, and this is a very interesting shade. I don't know if I have anything like it in any of my other palettes, and it's kind of like this pale yellow that has just like a slight amount of green to it. And I'm just going to be taking it on this brush from Anastasia. This is an A26. You see what I mean though? It's just a very interesting color. But again, I'm going to pop it in my crease and then blend it upwards towards my brow. And this is going to be acting as a transition shade today. You know, that's applying way more yellow than I was expecting. Because in the pan it has a little bit more of like a green tone to it. But when applied, it definitely looks like a pale soft yellow. But for a pastel, you know, it is a little bit dusty in the pan, but on the eye it's applying very smooth. I'm also going to round out this outer V a little bit too. I'm going to go in with a second layer. So it builds up, but it's a very light color in general. So now I'm just going to dip into this color called Sweet Sage, and I just love the greens in here. Like, they're my kind of green. And I'm just going to be taking it on this pinch blending brush, and this is an A10 again from Anastasia. I'm just going to be taking the brush the long way, again popping that baby in my crease, and then blending it up. Ooh, I really like these two colors together though. Like, I feel like this would be a really like pretty soft moment. Like an everyday look kind of vibe. And maybe put like a gold shimmer or a green shimmer on the lid. But dang, like those are just really nice together. I'm gonna do a second layer though. See how it builds up? Yeah, it is actually a little bit on the buildable side. So if you want it to look like it does in the pan, I would say you're looking about 2 layers, which I don't think is bad at all. Okay, I don't know if you feel this way too, but these two colors right here kind of remind me of like succulents and like desert kind of plants. I don't know if you get that vibe too. So to deepen things up even more, now I'm going to go in with this deepest green in the palette, and this one is called Suck on That. Oh my god, that is such a weird name. But I'm going to be taking it on this pinch blending brush, a smaller one than the previous one, and this one's a Morphe M456. That name though is very suggestive. Holy shit. But I'm going to be taking it in my crease again, doing these little circular motions to blend it up. Again, like this shade just has a nice amount of pigmentation to it. Like, it's not like a pressed pigment where it's like really intense right away. I really just think it's really easy to work with. You can see too, it's not giving me any harsh lines or chunkiness. I do have like a little bit of a dry spot right here, so that's why it looks a little weird right here. But I don't know, I really just like the formula so far. And I'm gonna do a second layer on this one. Yeah, this one's buildable too. So it seems like the mattes in here have a slight buildable formula. Like, they're not like super sheer right away, but if you want the colors to look like they do in the pan, you're looking about 2 to 3 layers. But so far these shades have just effortlessly blended into each other and just have been a very easy experience. Like, again, I just do a couple circles and they're like instantly blended. So if you're a beginner, I don't think you're going to struggle with the mattes in here. At least with the ones I have used so far. So to deepen things up just a little bit, I'm going to go in with this chocolate brown in the palette, and this one is called Plant Zaddy, which, again, like a lot of the names of this palette are very suggestive, but I am going to be taking it on this little tiny blending brush from Morphe. I don't think you can get it anymore, but it looks like an M507. I'm just going to take the tiniest amount on this brush. Just lightly put it in that crease, because I just wanted like a little bit more definition. Because the colors I'm going to be using on the lid aren't necessarily going to blend that well into green, so if I do a little bit of brown, maybe it'll help. I'm just going to go in with a little bit more on my brush. and blend it up. Again, this shade is very buildable too. It is a little bit more pigmented, but again, if you want it to look like it does in the pan, you're probably gonna have to do about 2 to 3 layers. I don't want it to look like it does in the pan, so I'm only gonna do 2. And I'm also doing very light layers, because I don't want it to overpower the greens that we have. I just wanted to define them a little bit. So now I'm just going to take the tiniest amount of Plant Zaddy and pack it using the same brush on just the outer V of my lid. Just a little bit, so when we apply the shimmers on the lid, it'll just have something to blend into. So lately I've been doing this technique where I don't cut the crease using an eye primer or an eye base. I just use the shimmer that I'm going to be using on the lid. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm going to go in with this really pretty orange right here. It just looks absolutely gorgeous. And this one's called Plant Mom, and it's kind of like a goldy, kind of like orangey shade. Kind of gives me like creamsicle vibes. And I'm just going to be taking this on a dampened shader brush, and I'm going to be applying it kind of to the center of my lid. And like that has a lot of shine. I feel like Morphe has just really like upped their game with their shimmers even. Because I mean, all of the ones I have used in their recent palettes have been just so extra. And this is like no exception to that. I mean, look at how pretty that is. And again, I am going to bring it just a little bit above my natural crease because I do have slightly hooded eyes. But if you want like a softer moment, you can also just kind of do what I'm doing right now and not cut the crease. And then on this outer edge, I'm just taking whatever's left on my brush and lightly feathering it in. So now I'm just going to go in with this corally rose gold shade, and this one's called Cacti Love You. Oh, that's a really cute name. And I'm going to be taking it on a different flat shader brush dampened. And I'm just going to be applying this to the rest of my lid. Ooh, that one's like really metallic. Like the other shade we used, like that one had a lot of shine to it, but this one's on like a whole other level. I mean, like, look at that. Such a fun color too. And again, I am cutting my crease using this shade. You know what, I'm gonna go in with my finger because maybe because I did this technique that it's not pulling as pink, but it really honestly is applying more like a gold. Yeah, you can see it just looks so gold next to these colors. Which I mean I'm fine with, but I just was hoping that it'd have like a little bit more of like a pink tinge to it. So I was expecting it to be kind of like a corally color with like a rose gold kind of vibe. You can see it just, it's not as pink as I was expecting. Kind of bummed, but I also really like that it's super sparkly, so. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of Cacti Love You on this fine liner brush from Sigma. This is an E11. And I'm just going to use it to kind of like cut my crease with it. This is a technique I like to do if I want a slightly softer looking cut crease and something not as harsh, but I still want like that defined cut crease look. I like to consider this kind of like a wearable cut crease in a way. Just because it's not as harsh as when you go in with a concealer underneath, but you still get a similar look. So I just applied the rest of my makeup off camera, but let's start working on the lower lash line. And I'm first gonna go in with that Suck On That shade, which, like, it's so dirty. But I'm going to pop this right underneath my lower lash line, doing back and forth motions. And I'm trying to hug it as close as I can to the lash line too. And next I'm just gonna go in with Sweet Sage on this brush from ColourPop. This is an E27. And I'm gonna use it to smoke down Suck On That. And if you have a hard time doing this and it looks like a really like harsh line down here, what I like to do is tip my head down a little bit more and then run it. It kind of like opens up this eye and makes it so much easier. And then for the inner corner highlight, I'm just going to go in with this kind of like icy gold shade, and this one's called Villa Vibes. Just like dipping my brush into the pan of this one, like it just feels extra creamy. But I'm going to be taking it on this pencil brush from Anastasia. It's an A14. And I'm just going to place it in my inner corner. And again, this brush is dampened, but ooh, now that's a really pretty color. Man, it's definitely like kind of like a white gold. Because it's not like a true like icy color, you know what I mean? It's not like an icy silver or like an icy white. And it's not like an iridescent green either. which I feel really pairs beautifully with this palette, because I feel like if it was like more of like an icy silver, it wouldn't necessarily fit the vibe. But, oh yeah. That was the play for the inner corner highlight. I almost went in with the icy pink, but I really like this kind of like gold situation that we have on the lid. And I felt like an icy pink would have just kind of thrown off the balance. But this shade I feel like just really complements it. And I'm just going to take a little bit underneath the inner tear duct area to help open up the eye. And if it looks a little bit chunky right here, what I like to do is just go back in with the brush, you know, any of them that I use for the lower lash line, and just kind of like soften the edge. Doing these little back and forths. Just to make sure everything is all nice and blended, because again, I don't want any chunkiness. I will say this is one of the nicest Morphe palettes I have ever used, and I have tried out a lot from Morphe, and I'd say this is definitely a top 3 for me. Like, I just think it's a really nice quality palette, and also just has a really cool vibe to it. Like, if you like the 1970s and you like that cottagecore aesthetic, I think you're gonna really fall in love with the color story of this one. And formula-wise with this palette, again, like the mattes in here, they did not give me any issues or any troubles at all. Again, they do have a little bit more of a buildable formula, so you're looking about 2 to 3 layers if you want them to look like they do in the pan. Personally, I actually like the formula of a buildable one a little bit more, but if you don't like building up your shadows, again, you might not like these in here just because of it. But if you are a beginner or if you're somebody that really struggles blending out your colors, a buildable formula is definitely where it's at. And the shimmers in this palette though, oh my gosh, like they are just so mind-blowing. Like if you're like me and you like a really creamy, metallic, wet, sparkly shimmer, you're gonna fall in love with the ones in this palette because they are just so beautiful and stunning on the eyes. Again, they have like this really nice creaminess to them, but at the same time, they are very easy to apply and they are just so sparkly. So when it comes down to it, would I recommend this palette to you? Honestly, I think this palette's amazing, and if you like the color story of this one, I think you're gonna be really happy with it too. And also, I just feel like this is a really unique palette. Like, I've never seen anything like it before, because again, it's very earthy, like over in here, and then we also get these really cool bright pops of color, you know, like the purples, as well as these kind of like corally oranges. It just has a really interesting look to it. So if you're looking for a really fun palette, you know, going into summer, and you want something, you know, a little bit on the spicy side, I think this one is definitely worth looking into. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this look, and also let me know if you'd like to see more looks using this palette, because I really want to use the purples in here as well as the oranges. I think they both look really cool. But yeah, so if you haven't already though, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on Instagram or TikTok, it's at Breyonna as well. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!